Okay, great. So you had asked me what's the goal of the game. The goal of the game is to get a high score. And then you said, what is the most efficient way to do that? And I said, well, if it were me, here's what I would do. So we are in this mission called CDD12, and I recommend that most people start with that. It includes measurements that I did with a 4-mic average, so they're pretty clean, high coherence. So here's what I would do. First, I would load any mission, and then I would adjust the coherence blanking so that I could get rid of all this noise down here. You can see that the coherence is super low around this area. So go ahead and bring up the coherence blanking until we get rid of all this stuff. Basically, we just want to be left with what's important, which is all this stuff in our crossover region. Keep going until you get rid of that. We don't, because that'll influence the score, and we don't really want that. You can see the coherence here is pretty low. Yeah, keep going up. There you go. Great. And now go ahead and zoom in to the area of interaction by clicking and dragging. Yeah, exactly. So we just want to get a better look at all this stuff. Now your first thought is probably just to start dragging the delay slider around and see if you can get a better score, and that's definitely an option. But since you asked me how to be very efficient, then I would be using the this number right here, which is our number, which is converting the delta phase over here into phase delay. So what's important is where you put the cursor, because that's where it's calculating that number. So you want to find somewhere where the blue and red magnitude traces cross over, and you want to see what that frequency is. That's about 105. And so we can see that we've got a delta phase here and then a phase delay of negative 4.07. Now in this case, I should point out that it might be obvious to experienced users that you've got a polarity inversion here, or at least it looks like these are 180 degrees out from each other, and it looks like their slopes are matching, which you could measure with pixel sticks and kind of angle meter, right? But if we wanted to be efficient and look at a few different options here, we might start out with this method. So put that number, negative 4.87, into your delay slider. Cool. So we can see that at 105 hertz, we're aligned, right? But we can also see that down through the rest of here, we get out of alignment. So this is probably not the right answer, but it's one option. And we can take note of our score. So we can see that our score is 9726. And at this point, you might want to have like a little text document open or something where you can say, okay, at negative 4.86, we've got a score of 9726. So what's the next thing we're going to try if we want to be efficient? Well, over here, if you could put your cursor back on 105 hertz, we can see the period and the half period. So the half period is 4.74. That basically takes us back to 0. So let's try double-clicking that guy and a polarity inversion. Okay, so 9947 is higher than our last score. And if we were keeping track, we would write down, okay, 0 milliseconds polarity inversion, 9947. And then we would try adding another half period. So now let's try a delay of 5.22 milliseconds and no polarity inversion. Cool. So notice how these all kind of look similar. Here in the summation is very close, but we can see this is not aligned all the way through the crossover region, and our score, 9782, is a little bit lower. So now we could look at these three options that we just went through pretty quickly and see which one had the highest score. It was the one at 0 milliseconds with the polarity inversion. So let's go back to that setting. And for me, I'm happy with that. So I would go ahead and hit sound check. And that is going to store your score. And don't click on OK yet. But if you ever want to see, after you hit sound check, you'll see this little bar here go up a little bit. And you can see that you've got 92 more experience points to go to head intern. So you just got, I think, something like 9.9 more points is how that is calculated. Okay, so you can go ahead and hit OK. And start mission. And earlier we uploaded a mission. Let's go through all those steps again. So why don't you head back into Smart. And can you open up this tab so that we can see everything? Great, so you already picked these two traces, which are some sort of main and sub, but you could do anything that you want to look at the summation of. Main and front fill, main and delay, but main and sub are going to be pretty common. So we already went through this, but the first thing we did was we disabled coherence blanking. So you had it up here at about 20 when we turned it down. You didn't have any phase smoothing or magnitude smoothing, which is uncommon. So make sure and disable those as well, because when we export, it's going to export in that state and you'll lose data if you have any smoothing. So then you exported to ASCII, and you can do that again, or just, you don't have to do it again, actually. You can just show the menu. Yeah, so you just right-clicked and then export to ASCII, and then you saved it. Cool, so we can go back into Phase Invaders. And then you wanted to upload your own mission. Go ahead and click in there. So you clicked on main to upload that file, and then sub to upload that file. And they turn green when it's done. And then the naming convention that we want to use is something like, what do we say? Oh yeah, make, model, and location. And then the description that we want to use is something like mic location, something about the filters if there's anything, and any other details you want to remember. And this will make it better for other people too when they're sort of looking through the list. They can see, oh, make, model, location. So you already did that though, so why don't we head back over to this other. Oh, before we do that, actually click on My Missions. And there's the mission that you uploaded earlier. So you put make, model of each speaker. Oh, crash. Why don't you reload that page? Great. My missions, yep. I just wanted to show that you did a great job of naming this. Make, model, location, city, off axis of main left speaker, head height. Cool, and did that load? No, it crashed in that other tab. So go ahead and click on this guy, and we'll open it up again. See how long this takes. Great, so do those look like your measurements?
Yeah.
So why don't you go through these steps again that we did in the previous mission, and tell me when you have questions or run into problems, and I might ask you some questions as well. And talk me through this as you're doing it so I can kind of know what you're thinking.
Okay. Let's just get the coherence down to that crossover range.
Great. So I would say that this is maybe a little bit high. You might want to bring it down a little bit because you had some more information there that's probably usable. And then if you adjust it again, maybe just double click on the graph to zoom out so you can make sure that there wasn't anything. Yeah, but we don't want this, but we do want this.
Okay, yeah, just sort of splitting the differences.
Right. Yeah, we don't want that. Okay, great. Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool. So we had been talking about the efficient way to do this, right? Instead of just kind of guessing. So I know that I just went through this with you only one time and you've never done this before. But see if you can you remember any of the steps that we just talked about in the last mission?
Yeah, I'll do my best here, I think. So find the cross where both our sub and main trace meet.
Yep. And an important point that I didn't talk about before is you also want to make sure that you don't have a coherence problem. So this wouldn't be the best place, but you know, a little bit to the right here, and we're seeing good coherence. That's probably a good place to start.
Yeah.
So you're going to choose 94.75 hertz. That's great. And you can see this number. So why don't you give it a shot? Do you remember the next step?
So that should be the time.
So this number in parentheses is calculating the phase delay for you. Yeah, so why don't you try that in your delay? Cool, so this looks a little bit better, right? And so we're aligned at this frequency now that we were looking at. Our score did go up, and this looks improved. So we might just want to take note of this and say, okay, negative 6.6 with a score of 92937, and I'll write that down for us, 92937. And now we might want to try a half cycle away. So put your cursor back at what, I can't remember the frequency you chose.
It should be 94.
Okay, great. So the half period is 5.28. So let's try going either far left or right of this number. So we've got negative 6.6, right? And we want to go 5.28. 5.28. So that would be negative 1.32. Yeah, so try a negative 1.32 in the delay. Great, and then you got it. Okay, score 9.187, not higher.
Yeah.
Last score was 92937. Just out of curiosity, let's try going in the other direction. So this time, let's make it a full. Let me get my cursor out of the way. You didn't move it yet, right?
Nope.
And we just need to make sure that our cursor. Can you put your cursor back at that frequency that you chose? Great. And period is 10.56. So negative 1.33 minus 10.56. So let's go to negative 11.89 and take this out. Cool. That looks worse. Oh, because we need the, we need this in. Sorry.
Okay.
I confused myself. Okay. So this actually looks pretty good, but what's our score? 9178. Our previous score was 9237. So we
Okay.
tried 3 different options here. Let's go back to the one that worked. I can't remember what the delay was now, though.
That
So
was
you can take this out and you can double click this to reset it, unless you remember the delay. I think it was something like -6, right?
it was -6.6.
You can always check by putting your mouse back at that crossover frequency that you chose, and then looking at how far away you are at this number. Perfect. Okay, so that's it, and that's your score. Great, and now
Oh,
you can hit sound check.
gotcha.
All right. So it was fun going through this with you, Cole. I'm seeing that a feature that I would really love here is not only a history table of where I've been, but also like um, it would be great to see wherever I put my cursor, what are the if it could just do that math for me, instead of me needing to look at like, okay, my delay's at -6, like what's -6 plus 3.79? Like it'd be great if those were just all available so I could try a bunch of different options real quick,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Cole.
Cool. Yeah.